Thanks everyone for joining this month's session for the Process Mining Academy session. This month, we're going to focus on exploring the guided setup experience. So a little bit of background of what these are. If you're new to the Process Mining Academy sessions, we do these monthly. And these are really meant for customers who are looking to understand how process mining works, give practical guidance, and some how-tos on new capabilities, even product updates, to allow our customers to better leverage process mining capabilities within their organizations, and also to collaborate. We love hearing feedback. We do have a Q&A session at the end as well. All of these sessions are recorded, so we post these publicly, and you can always refer to these in future. So folks who couldn't join today, you can find these on the process mining community, and I have some links for resources at the end where you can get to that as well. And lastly, as I mentioned, we do want this collaborative. At the end, we have and allow for time for some Q&A as well to answer specific questions about the topic at hand or anything about process mining in general. We love that feedback, and it helps us get better as a team and as a product as well. Awesome. All right, so quick logistics for our session today, a little bit of a safe harbor. So anything I say and do about anything about future products, please do not make any purchases based on those. This is my get out of jail card. So please make no purchase decisions based on anything I talk about the future, which may happen. A little bit of an introduction. I'm Damian Pascale. I am one of the process mining product management team on the outbound side. On the phone too, or on the team call today, we have Dan Grady, who, if you've attended these Academy sessions before, he's driven most of them. Our team has grown, so we're now 3 of us on the outbound product management team for process mining. Rosman Parpia, she's based in the UK. I'm based in Denver. Dan's based in New York. So we have a lot more team supporting process mining, which also is relevant in that we have a lot more customers who are interested in looking at and using the capability. All right, so agenda today. As we always do, we like to go through a little bit of a process mining 101, because I'm sure there's maybe some folks who have not seen process mining before and ask the question, well, what is this? This sounds interesting. So we're going to go through a little bit of that first, then we'll go through the topic at hand, which is new in the Washington D.C. release around guided setup experience. We'll go through a bit of a demo on that, so a couple of slides to front end it, and then we'll go through our Q&A session. Again, we want to keep this as very interactive as possible, so please, please, please ask your questions in the Q&A section. Both Dan and I will be answering questions as we go through this. And then we'll end with resources that you have available to you, which we have a ton, which is really helpful. And we look to grow that over time, including this session. All right, so process mining, what is it? Why did we come up with this capability? Well, in talking to our customers and working with customers, we all know as we build processes or workflows or whatever application that we're working with, we all have a design path that we have in mind with an outcome. We always build something with a specific outcome to solve a problem, to manage a KPI goal, whatever it may be. That design path doesn't necessarily mean it's going to act the way we expect it to for many different reasons. And a lot of those reasons we just don't know, right? And that reality sets in, and we have to solve for that. And the result of that reality can be borne out in a negative experience, KPIs that are trending the wrong way, and a lot of other different reasons. But they result in a negative experience overall. And what we want to do is leverage the capability within ServiceNow with an in-platform, data-driven manner to understand and discover a process that lives within ServiceNow using the event log data that lives in the platform. So natively, we're tracking all the changes that happen within many of the things that happen within your environment. And that allows us to quickly discover and x-ray your environment and understand where the inefficiencies lie. Then that's really a quick and easy way to understand why things are behaving the way they are. Which is typically where process mining comes into play. If you compare this to what you're probably doing today in analytics and dashboards, they answer the what's going on question. But the why is not answered in dashboards or performance analytics. They're answered in process mining. Where is our process stuck? Why is work being ping-ponged between two different teams or two different states? Who's holding on to those cases or tickets or incidents? All those questions can be answered within process mining through our ability to understand how things change and how they flow. And this results into, and I talk to a lot of folks or customers who use dashboards and, why is my KPI trending the wrong way? And process mining becomes that answer to why behind that KPI that I care about. Process mining is not just for the folks that are data scientists. It's really meant for anybody who cares about a process, the process stakeholders, the process owners, the teams that care about efficiency. I want to drive efficiency within a specific goal or team or process in itself. So in this case, we quickly, within minutes, be able to understand how my incidents process is flowing, and then being able to break it down by elements that I care about. Maybe it's a channel, maybe it's assignment group, maybe it's by location. You get to choose how you want to look and slice and dice that data, and ultimately understand where my work is becoming inefficient and focus in on that area and make data-driven decisions and how I should apply automation, which, as we all know, we do very well within ServiceNow. And sometimes it's on automation. Maybe sometimes it's really just about coaching different teams to how to better leverage a specific process. Sometimes it's just marketing better within an organization. Hey, we developed a self-service option for password reset. Nobody knows about it and is using it. Maybe we do a better job of surfacing it. So a great way to really understand and take that next step of, I know how things are running, now let's fix it. So this takes me to the next step of, why is it so important within ServiceNow? Well, we have this great ability to address all four areas of this life cycle of work, right? Being able to detect through performance analytics and dashboards, even SLA breach notifications, how things are running. Are they negatively being impacted by something in my organization? I don't know what it is, and that becomes problematic. And that's where process mining becomes important. We have that analyze phase where we can now visualize process maps, apply automated and rule-based findings to expose improvement opportunities very quickly, right? Looking at a process map may not be a quick evidence of how things are, where improvements should be applied, but we have an ability to do that very quickly through these findings abilities and be able to use things like machine learning to expose other opportunities to improve as well, right? So grouping things as like, oh, I see an evidence of, 1,000 incidents or cases that could be self-service through maybe a virtual agent, maybe using predictive intelligence or even Gen AI. Then lastly, secondly, I should say, is improvement, right? Using the in-platform capabilities like virtual agent, like even RPA. Hey, we noticed that work is ping-pong between two different teams because they don't have the right tools. Maybe we can leverage things like automation engine or RPA to automate some of those steps. And I talked about coaching. Maybe, we see that work is being reassigned multiple times. Maybe one of those outcomes could be we train a specific team to be able to answer those questions instead of having to reassign. And lastly, monitoring, right? We've made some improvements. Maybe we applied a virtual agent. Did we get better? Being able to tie these to continual improvement management, which lives also in the ServiceNow platform, and be able to track this like a project over time. This is an iterative process. Being able to process mine over time is really becoming very relevant and very common within our customers, where they see this as a way to improve over time and ensure it's a data-driven methodology. And that allows you to continue to use performance analytics and trend and make sure that the KPI I care about continues to improve. Okay. That's the quick overview of process mining. I hope that was relevant. So the next thing I'm going to do is do a quick overview of what the guided setup experience is before we go into a demo. So process mining has been around for a while now, right? Since the Quebec release. With every release, we keep enhancing and adding significant improvements and capabilities. In the Washington D.C. release, we added a capability to enhance and improve the ease of use in terms of setting up a project. And that's one of the things that's what we're going to focus on today. As you can see, we have a number of things we've added in Washington D.C. release. You'll see more things in the Xanadu release that's coming in September. But today we're going to focus on guided setup. So what is guided setup? Guided setup is a flow-based, easy-to-use methodology to allow anyone to build a process mine project. In the past, there was a workspace, and there still is a workspace. We have used the platform view, and which is still there, by the way. There's a lot of folks that love the platform view. That's not going away. But I will say that guided setup, one of the things here is allow you to step through a guided process to build that project mine in a very considerate, productive way. So all the steps that are needed are highlighted and help you step through that and provide resources as you go through this, just in case you don't know what a specific thing is or what to do. So very comprehensive, very easy to use, and we'll go step through this. Again, what we're trying to do here is really enable different teams to be able to leverage process mining in their own workflow, right? Make this part of your operational model. A couple of things I did want to mention, and I often get asked this question, is about, okay, well, are there roles and how do we govern this? I did want to mention, so there are 4 different roles. There is a admin, a power user, an analyst, and a process mining viewer role. And each one of these have, additional capabilities where you can create more, share, for example, and be able to edit different types of projects. So you can govern these in a very specific way where you may just want specific teams just to be able to see specific project mine. So you can manage this in a very specific and deliberate way if you'd like. Okay, so let's dive into a project mine. Just get out of that and share my. Okay. All right, so let's dive into this. So we're in the process mining workspace. If you notice I have a bunch of projects here already. What I'm going to do is right from here, I'm going to hit my create new project. And from there, it's going to bring me to the set objectives. This is going to build that core construct of what a project is for a process mine. So the very first thing you'll notice is select type. There are 2. One is a project, one is a template. In this case, we're going to build a project. I just wanted to illustrate that templates can be used in your organization to provide some governance. I have customers that have this, use this for ITSM, for HR, for strategic portfolio management. Each team has different requirements and how they want to build. They want to enable, as I said earlier, their teams to use this across their organizations. Building templates that are specific for each one of those teams allows them to quickly leverage them and have that framework already built out, which is really, really great for them, so they don't have to reinvent the wheel each time. So in this case, I'm going to build a project. Let's call it Academy Session. And you can give it a short description. You notice right away the stars means that you need to fill them out. Short description is not needed, but you can add one if you'd like. So this is going to scope the initial construct of the project. In this case, we're going to focus on a specific table. You do have other source types. We can mine a report source, archive data, as well as external data. And I want to make sure that everyone is aware of that. There's even an Academy session that we have recorded in the community around how we can mine external data as well. So in this case, I'm going to hit table. Now, within the project, you get to decide which table you want to do. Now, based on the licensing you have, it'll determine which ones you can do. In this case, I'm going to just do incident. You notice it defaults to, do you want to auto retire? And what this means is, and this helps in governance, auto retire means if I don't mind this for a certain amount of time, it'll go into a retired state. So depending on, and over time, if you notice they go into retired, you may want to delete them or put them into a state of that you don't use them. Another option, I should say, here is, do you want to tie this to a dashboard, which will be surfaced in the project once we mine it as well. So if you hit yes, and this is again optional, you can choose an existing dashboard or add a new one. Well, I know I have an incident dashboard that's out of the box, so I'm going to attach it to my incident dashboard. You notice at the bottom, quick start. It's servicing some existing process mines that I have that I use for incident management. So it's servicing these that, hey, do you want to use these as a template? I'm going to choose no, I don't want that. But I also notice on the right-hand side, I do have some resources. So as I go through this and I forgot, well, what does this mean? Or how do I, get to something? I do have some use cases, community facts, all the Process Mining Academy sessions are all available to me right from here, which is great. So, okay, we've defined the table. We've defined which KPI dashboard. We gave it a name. I'm going to hit create project. So now we have that core shell of my project for process mining. Now what we're going to do next is scope it, right? All the things I care about within the incident process mine that I want to apply. So the first thing we're going to do, you notice on the left-hand side, we have our incident table, and we're going to define 4 different areas: filter conditions, activities, breakdowns, and use cases. Again, you notice the star means it's required. Everything else is not. So you need to have an activity. But the first thing we're going to do is filter conditions. So generally speaking, whenever we're doing a process mine, we care about cases, incidents, whatever it may be that we're mining, things that are done, completed, finished. So in this case for incidents, I'm going to choose active is false. Now, if you're used to using ServiceNow filter conditions, this should look familiar. You notice I can add different filters in an and an or state, so I can continue to add more. Maybe I want to define these by time, in terms of when they were closed or when they were opened. So it's a great way to narrow down the scope of what you want to process mine. Perhaps I only want to look at Q4 of 2023, right? And then be able to look at, well, how many records do I have that I can apply for this? Great. You can also apply some additional filtering here in terms of cropping that process using start and end conditions as well. So I'm going to hit save. So I have one filter condition, all closed or inactive incidents. Next thing I want to do is add an activity. You need to have at least one activity. You can have multiple. So the activity is going to be what you care about changing in this process line. In this case, as in a very common use case, I care about the flow of my incident from a state to state perspective. So I'm going to add that state capability or the state activity. And all that is a field within the incident table. You can give it a display name, not required. You can also now, again, scope this down as well. Maybe I only care about specific state values. And right, so I can select which state values I want from here. I'm not going to do that, but you have that capability for any given field, as well as be able to group activities hide the activity of interest, or even be able to include the empty start node as well. So I'm going to hit save on this. You can have multiple activities definitions. So in this case, maybe I also want to add assignment group. I can do that too. So next I'm going to select breakdowns, and breakdowns is how we're going to slice and dice our process mine. Again, if you're familiar with performance analytics and dashboarding, breakdowns should be a common thing you've probably been using. So in this case, we can add up to 10 breakdowns, and I'm going to give it a display name. Let's just choose one, assignment group. And we're going to hit save. And I can continue to add more of those. Maybe I care about, let's say, priority. And we're done for breakdowns, right? And I'll show you this after we finish it, how we can go back and add more as well. Next thing we're going to do is select improvement opportunities. Now, this is where we're going to add both our rule-based and automated findings. Now, for the different content packs that we include with ServiceNow, with process mining, there are a number: ITSM, HR, strategic portfolio management. If you've loaded those content packs, you will have some rule-based and automated findings that get added to the library. And depending on what process mine project scope is, will depend on they get applied. So I can add from a library. You notice I have a bunch of rule-based ones that I've included. Some are ones I've built. Some are ones that are included in the content pack. I'm going to hit apply. Now you notice at the top, it said, okay, I've added 5 different rule-based findings. Some are invalid based on the scope of my project. Great, so I've added these. I'm going to do the same thing for automated. Add from library, choose all of them, add to project. It's smart enough to know to add just the ones that are pertinent to the scope of this project. I also wanted to point out on the rule-based ones, you can add new ones right from here as well. You can build new rule-based findings from here. And then we're pretty much done at this point. We've built our first project using that guided setup. Next, we hit review and mine. My project is complete. It's going to now ask me, hey, look, all the work we've done, this is the scope of the project. Table name is incident. We're looking at state. We have assignment group and priority. And we've applied all these improvement opportunities. And these are the opportunities that are going to get exposed once we mine very quickly, right? Right in the first page, which is great. So I don't have to go and figure out, it's going to tell me based on these rules, these finding definitions, where my inefficiencies are. And then we can hit mine project. You have 2 options, sample mine and full mine. I'm not going to hit that yet. What I did want to show real quick is the ability of, I'm going to hit save and exit. I'm going to refresh. Last created. And here's my Academy session. Let's assume for a moment, hey, I forgot something, right? I wanted to add or change something. I can easily go into my edit mode. Again, go back into my process mine. You notice I have on each scope improvement, I have this ability to edit as well. So right from here, I can actually go into edit and start making changes for each one of these activities or these capabilities within the incident. I did want to point out too, within your scoping here, we focus on incident. You can also add a child entity, which means other tables we want to mine in addition to incident. Perhaps it's request, perhaps it's a change or problem, something that's going to be a child to that incident table, so I can show that multi-dimensional view of a process that is more comprehensive, more complex. Perhaps my changes are impacting my incident closure or vice versa. I want to expose that. So, all right, so let's save and exit. I'm going to go back and I'm going to mine my sample, and we're done. That was our entire building of a project within the guided setup. Very simple, not many steps. I think the best scenario here is to go in with a perspective and thought process of what should be included in that project in terms of scope, right? Again, you can always go back and make changes. One of the things I did want to mention is as you make changes to the project, it will warn you, hey, you probably will need to mine or remine that project to have those changes take effect. I think we're going to go ahead and open it up to questions. I know my teammate Dan is on as well. Do we have any questions out there? And I see there's one. So I see a question about what version. Oh, it's been answered. Awesome. Yeah, this is definitely Washington, D.C. I'm not sure which patch, quite honestly, but it should be one of the latest patches, I believe. But whether it's, I'd be surprised if you're wondering Washington, D.C., if you're seeing a very different view. Honestly, it should be relatively close. If you can give us some idea what's really different, that would be great. And it could be, when you say in terms of scoping, a little different. Is it? I'm not sure what component that would be different, but if you can provide some examples, that would be awesome. I did mention earlier, we do still have the platform view still there as well, right? So if I go into my project advanced view is going to take me to that platform view, right? So that's still there. I usually get that question. So if you like this version more or this view more, it's there for you as well. Any other questions? Oh, there's another one. So I didn't see the filter link above activities. Okay, so let's go into.
Damian, so I'll just comment on that one.
Sure.
Yes, that's something actually we've improved. So Damian is probably on a later patch than you're on in your instance. In an early iteration of Washington, that filter conditions option was actually available by clicking on the table itself. And one of the things that we recognized based on customer feedback is it wasn't obvious that where they would apply filter conditions. So we've broken the filter conditions option out to make it more easy and obvious for you to find it. So the person that asked the question, I think it's just your instance probably hasn't been upgraded to a later patch of Washington.
Yeah, sounds. Yeah, I was going to take a quick look on what patch I'm on. But great question, great feedback.
But I think it's a good example of kind of, I know many of you on this call here, I've just looked at the names. You've worked closely with us throughout the process. You've been involved in some of the research we've done from a UI UX perspective on this new guided setup experience. It's your feedback that really helps us make these adjustments. And as we're finding out here on this call, we make them in a pretty rapid fashion when we hear feedback that is something that we can change quickly. This is a good example of that.
So I'm just looking quickly what patch I'm on for that person who asked the question. This way you can. So if you go, there's a question about upgrading. Do we get updates from the store or as patches and upgrades? I think the answer is both, Dan, right?
The answer would be both, yes. You're going to get a lot of the front end work. The front end stuff will come via the store. And then there's some stuff that happens, family release upgrades as well behind the scenes on the back end side.
Yeah, so I just took a quick look. I'm on patch 5.
But one other thing that's always good to do is just every now and then go to the plugin. I don't know if you have administrative rights and you can look at the plugin, just see if you know, when you go to the plugin section, you can see whether your plugins are on the most current version of process mining.
Yeah. An easiest way to do that. You can see what's installed. I just looked at these are all the process mining plugins that I have installed, including the main core one. You can see at the very bottom, process mining, it'll say up to date. If it didn't, you have an opportunity to update right from here.
A question coming in around, is process line mining a separate entitlement, or is it part of performance analytics? It's definitely not part of performance analytics. There's multiple ways in which you can get entitled to process mining. It's part of the enterprise packages. There is also a separate entitlement if you're a pro level customer across the different workflows. So it's you depending on your package, you may already have it, you may not. It's something to just contact your account team and kind of validate whether you have access to it or not.
So I see a question about auto retiring under the table selection. So what's the role? And I think what you're asking here, and please, let me know if that's what you're asking. So what's the purpose of it? I presume, again, as I said earlier, it's really about governance, right? So if you haven't touched a process or a project or mined it, and I believe it's, I forgot how long it was. Dan, do you remember? Is it a month or two?
It's a configurable property in terms of the retirement. I think it's 90 days is the default value.
Right.
If you wanted to, Damien, if you go to the your left-hand nav and go to the process mining application, we could look and see what.
But I just want to show, so you see this SLA breach on assignment group project here. It was mined 3 months ago. It's now status is retired. So I think it's 3 months is the number, the default one. So, if I haven't touched this, so it tells you that, okay, well, maybe we need to, from a governance perspective, this is not relevant to my work now, and we can either delete it, it's not needed. Again, this over time, you can see how we're not using these, you can have a lot of these, right? So we want to be able to get rid of the ones we don't need anymore. Maybe we've created a new version of this, right? You do have the ability of cloning these or copying these, right? And be able to make adjustments. So you can make non-destructive versions of these if you'd like. But yeah, you have that ability to manage it that way.
All right, there's a question here about out-of-the-box projects, which can mine the event flow. I'll just there are out-of-the-box projects for things like incident, problem, change, request. They come as part of the content packs. I don't know if you noticed when Damian went to the plugin page, there was different content packs for the different workflows. Your specific scenario around events to alerts to incidents, there is not an out-of-the-box project for that scenario. But as you just saw Damian go through, very straightforward to create projects here. I was just working with a customer yesterday in which they were looking at major incidents that were generated via alerts and the process of handling those. So it's that your specific scenario, you would probably do what Damian just did here to create your projects and narrow it down. But there are out of the box content for you. In terms of you have another question here. Is there any guidance videos available? There is tons and tons of videos available for you. Damian's going to put up a slide at the end that talks about some of the content that's available out there. But this happens to be the 28th Process Mining Academy. All prior 27 Academy sessions have been recorded and are posted on the community site. There is also the Process Mining Use Case Series, which is 10 short 5-minute little videos about some very common types of analysis that people use process mining for. So things like analyzing multi-hop scenarios, or things like analyzing work that takes longer to route than resolve, or idle time, or SLA breach analysis. So there's a bunch of other content and videos above and beyond today's session. And Damian, like I said, he's going to go through some of that there. So that's that question. So hopefully we answered that one for you. A question about, can we just delete obsolete projects? Of course you can. One of the reasons that auto retire feature is there is as people start to scale process mining out inside of their organizations, and you start to get multiple stakeholders involved, there are options to create projects in a more ad hoc fashion from other parts of the solution. So you could be on a performance analytics indicator, drill down into it in a single click, create an ad hoc project to mine just the data behind that indicator for a specific month of closed incidents. And it's a very, like I said, ad hoc way of doing process mining. Those ad hoc projects that you're creating, they don't often need to live forever. And sometimes the person who created that ad hoc project for that one-time analysis doesn't remember to go back and clean them up. So we saw that happening in some of our customers where they had a lot of ad hoc projects being created. So we created this auto retire capability to help better govern and manage those scenarios. But you certainly can go and delete the projects on your own if you have the right roles to do that. Question here. So this is one of our favorite questions, and unfortunately we don't have the best answer for you. So for those that are brand new to this, can we use process mining in our PDI, personal developer instances? And fortunately and unfortunately, the fortunate part is that process mining uses the machine learning infrastructure to do the heavy duty number crunching to minimize and eliminate any sort of performance impact on your instance. That's the good news for when you roll this out into your production environments in real life. But PDIs, or personal developer instances, are not connected to that machine learning infrastructure. So process mining is not something that you can play around with there. But you do have the ability to play around with it in your sub-production environment. You can mine up to 3,600 records in your sub-production environment. I would say for somebody who's interested in doing that, just be sure that when you clone down to your sub-production environment, you include the audit log records, because that's what we're using here to do the process mining piece. So that's the best way to try it out on your own. But as Damian's got up on the screen here, there are a lot of other resources out there that'll help you get educated about what process mining is. One great place to start that actually we don't have on the screen here is there. If you go to the community and you search "Guide to Getting Started with ServiceNow Process Mining," there's an article that lines up kind of all of, if we were building out a curriculum of how you should get started and walk through this different content. That's a great article to help give you kind of the order in which we recommend you get started learning about process mining.
So I see a question that does anything change if a project on a dashboard gets retired? So
I think probably there'd be some clarifying questions that we want to ask here, but I love the question because, and I'll take a step back. One of the things, and if you go back and you watch other Academy sessions, one of the advantages to using an in-platform process mining solution is the ability to embed process mining insights and visualizations and output as part of operational dashboards that people would be using. So you have the ability to take a process map that's generated by a project and embed it in a stakeholder dashboard inside of your environment, which is fantastic. I love this question because that's exactly what we want to be doing to start to expose process mining to more people. The question about would it be impacted if the project got retired? The answer is I need to validate and check because I'm not 100% sure. I'm gonna put it out there that I think the best practice would be, if you're embedding a project inside of a process mining dashboard, that is a conscious effort that you're making for that specific project. You would then use the uncheck the retire button on that project. So if you're from a design perspective, if you're adding a process mining project to a dashboard, you should validate that it does not have the retire option checked on it.
Yeah, I think the other option too is tying in a dashboard a KPI that links to a project as well, right? Where, and that's something you can do. So if I have a dashboard for incident, let's say, and I'm going to tie the MTTR trend to I can tie it directly to an incident process mine. Now, again, to Dan's point, if it retires or you delete it, that's not going to work anymore, right? So be thoughtful in terms of how things are being linked and used going forward. You can always relink that KPI to a new process mine, right? That maybe perhaps you've created in the future. I don't see any new questions. All right, so thanks for all the great questions. Fantastic. I did want to point out, as Dan said, a number of different great resources you have. If you haven't taken and want to learn more about the certification for process mining, there's some on-demand training. There's a process mining essentials. We do have, as Dan mentioned, a comprehensive amount of information in the Process Mining Academy, tons of different sessions over the past couple of years. We add these every month. And those are generally, a little longer like this, but we also have the use case series, which are much shorter snippets of capabilities of just kind of go through how to get something done, as well as our monthly office hours, which we'll have next Friday as well. Again, very open-ended, not specific topic, really there to, hey, I'm working on these 2 or 3 things. I'm struggling with X. Let's help solve those problems or answer those questions. We also have the community forum, another place to answer questions or ask questions where Dan, myself, and Roz and other folks within the process mining team can help answer those questions in a timely manner. And we do have a white paper that is how we are using process mining within ServiceNow. Right. So, we always use our own products, and process mining is certainly another one of them. And we use this to help get and improve internally. So lots of different resources. We look to add these all the time. And, I highly recommend at least subscribing to the community forum. And again, we also, if you're part of the local ServiceNow user groups, we also attend those on occasion and present or in regional events as well. So with that said, is there any more questions? I'm going to say thank you everyone for attending and look forward to seeing everyone on the next session. Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend and great rest of your day.